Hey, welcome to the call. With me today, I'm very, very happy, and I'm very, very happy to have with me Joe Thomas on the call with Recovery Amped. He's the CEO of Recovery Amped, which is a software company, right, Joe?
Yep, software company.
And you got my attention. We connected on Facebook there in one of the groups, and you got my attention because you are a clear, concise step ahead of me and by a long shot with the metaverse. And I wanted to talk to you about that. And the question that I had, and you plant this question in my mind, is what are you predicting to be the stages of meta?
Okay, well, first stage is going to start with things they're already doing. If you're familiar with Oculus, which is a brand that they acquired, Oculus is like glasses that do virtual reality. So you play virtual reality games on it. When I first experienced it, it was almost like a haunted house that you got to experience through virtual reality with it. So when you moved around in wherever you were at, you were seeing things pop up and stuff. And that's their first phase, is to really get in the gaming aspect. I mean, imagine you playing your favorite game, but you're living in the world that game's in. And this makes a really fun experience. So they're starting with the game, which is going to be the first phase. As they move through the game, they're going to start making actual, like, real life experiences. So going to the mall, hanging out. So now you're hanging out with your best friend in the metaverse rather than in real life. So you can actually, you'll be able to experience things like it. And the next side is going to be where you're going to start doing some of your shopping. This is the third phase that I'm predicting, where you're going to be able to go to an Amazon store and it'll be just like you're walking into a Walmart and buying things off the shelf. And so it's going to make that full round experience. But they're not just getting into virtual reality, but augmented reality. So then before you know it, you're going to be on Mars, Jupiter, and you're going to be able to play. They'll have alternate realities that don't exist currently that they will come up with, that you'll get to live in and experience and have all of your friends and family within it. And you'll be able to interact from your home, from your living room, from your computer room, and you'll be able to interact with it. Facebook's been really good at really honing in on things that keep people using the system for a long time. Facebook is it was considered the most addictive drug in the world because people get addicted to using it. It's going to be the same way as virtual reality, where a lot of the stuff you do now that you actually go out into the world, you won't have to do anymore. You'll actually be able to do it from your home, from the computer. So what does that mean for technology? That means that your technology needs to move in the realm of a virtual experience more than a physical experience. So if you're dealing with AI and things like you do, it's getting into the processes of how a store works and how will it operate in a metaverse. How will notifications work? How will it connect into POSs? And looking at things like that, because that's where technology is headed. We're getting focused more on interaction ourselves as a company. So we're starting on the smaller side. We're a tech startup, and we're still very small. We're just getting our feet wet within there. But our whole idea is around interaction and triggering notifications and hitting you with text messages and emails and things. But it's making things more conversational, trying to eventually improving AI conversation, where you'll actually be able to have better conversations. So things like that are going to work really well within the metaverse. Along with the metaverse, you've also got CDP coming into play. And what that's doing is that's bringing in more data points around a customer's journey. And those, if you look at the two factors of Meta, and then you combine it with CDP, it's all about data. So what companies are going to thrive as things are moving forward? Companies that are focused on data on the back end and understanding the data, but interaction and things within a virtual environment on the front end. And so that's where I'm predicting everything to go. I think that'll be really the three phases that you're going to look at, going from virtual reality, playing games, to the end point where you're actually living your life within a virtual reality world.
Wow. I've been making notes here as you've been speaking, and just so I could ask intelligent questions. And I'm telling you, Joe, you've taken my thinking of the metaverse to a whole new level here. That is absolutely incredible knowledge that you're speaking.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, it's an interesting experience. You got to think that it's really something big if Facebook is committed to $9 billion. $9 billion. How many companies spend $9 billion on anything for R&D? Very few.
Wow.
This is for one thing. They're putting $9 billion towards it right now. What does that mean for the world? What does that mean for the 2 years from now? I mean, it could be 18, 20, or $30 billion that are getting put towards this. If $9 billion are already committed, you better believe this thing's going to happen, and it's going to be big, because there was no reason that they would do it. And you got to think about their shareholders. The shareholders would not like it. If they start losing money after this comes out, their company could lose everything. So when they look at these bets, their bets have to be, I mean, they've already done studies and figured out that this is going to work. So this is something that you have to prepare for, because this is where technology is headed. There is no way out of this. And that, combined with CDP and more data points around everything, data is going to be ridiculous. I mean, the companies that are going to thrive in the future are going to be two types. It's going to be a data company, or a company that collects the data. So it's a data storage, a company that's helping collect the data, or different widgets that attach to big technologies. But your billion-dollar companies for the future are really going to be honing in on data. So if your company is in the tech space and you're not focused on data, you might get eradicated within the next 10 years.
Billion-dollar companies are focused in on data, or they're done.
Correct.
Basically, yeah.
I mean, the biggest point with data is you can't find clean data. So there's all different types of data, but like what CDP is doing, which is going to change it, is it's taking these old silos of data, and they're bringing all these different data points together into one place so that they're not stored into these different silos, and eventually you lose that data. So now it's just more areas where business intelligence solutions can then start predicting behaviors of people. It can better know when you need, instead of you go shopping for a lawnmower. You know, today's culture, you go shopping for a lawnmower. What happens with Google and Facebook ads? You get more lawnmower ads.
Surveillance capitalism.
Here's the problem: is once you buy the lawnmower, if there's one pure data source, if you buy the lawnmower, it's going to know you need blades. It's going to know that you buy a weed eater, that you need the string. It's going to predict the correct things by putting all these data points together and understanding them more. And Facebook, what they're going to be is the hub for data.
The hub for data.
Go ahead.
You mentioned, Joe, that did you say that most data is bad?
I'm saying a lot of data is bad. So
I believe it, but can you elaborate on can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah. So what happens if you study a little bit more about CDP, and it's where CRMs are moving. So I would say most people are probably familiar with CRM systems, your Salesforce, your HubSpot. So it brings in different data, and then CDP is bringing in more data points around it. So it's not just your lead to conversion. CDP is now bringing in data around your service calls, your satisfaction, and they're starting to bring all the data points together to improve your overall customer journey. It's going to improve ways of upselling for the future. So that's the movement of data. The reason CDP is moving in there is because you have a CRM, you have a HRMIS, which is a human resource management information system, and you've got these different things, and then you got your e-commerce store that has data. And what happens is they're all getting put in all these different silos. So what happens is these silos over time, because they're not being used, the data is getting corrupted. There's no cleaning of the data before it gets put into the system. So by putting it into one place and having some cleaning protocol for cleaning your data out, now you can take all the data and put it into one profile. And that one profile can predict this person, what they're going to do, what's the best experience from an 18 to 24-year-old, what's the experience that they're looking for when they go to buy a lawnmower. So it's going to understand that better, because they're going to know your satisfaction after. It's not your lead to conversion. It's now all of the data points around your journey of being a customer of theirs. When you go buy a new blade, when you buy lawnmower oil, it's going to start bringing those things in, and then it's going to check your satisfaction through the journey. And then eventually I think that it'll actually, your experience and my experience, especially within a metaverse, will be different in how you buy things. So when you go to a shelf versus me go to a shelf to pick something up, the way I look at the shelf may actually be different than the way you look at the shelf. The way that I buy it may be different because it's going to react to your profile. So that's where I see this actually going, is your experience. It really is going to hone in on making a better experience for every person that goes to buy something, and everybody gets a different experience. But the data is stored into too many different silos, and that's the problem with data, of why it's not useful. And that's why it's kind of, and it's not cleaned as well. And then you try to bring that unclean data into a BI system, and it doesn't really know what to do with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see AI being developed in that area to help collaborate, putting that data together.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's not about putting the data together through AI. It's about the BI side of it, business intelligence.
BI side of it?
Yeah, I mean, the predictive and the prescriptive analytics that you're getting out of it.
Yeah.
And so what's going to happen is your predictive analytics and your prescriptive analytics are going to come together to change your experience. So now your BI system won't be the ending point. It will be the ending point for your profile to then react with the system with AI to change your experience.
Nice, cool. You must have heard of emotional intelligence, artificial intelligence. It's a new area of artificial intelligence.
Yes.
What can you, I just found out about it from a book here, this book right here. But what can you tell me about emotional intelligence and how that's going to be or is disrupting our economy?
I think it will be more disruptive. Now, I'm not a scholar in any part of emotional intelligence with AI,
Yeah.
but right now it's not really great because it doesn't have enough areas to really monitor you. And yes. I think that's where Meta will come in. Is it's going to know that you feel happy by your movement, by your typing, by your movement through the different journeys, by how you react to conversation. And so since we don't have all those things in one place, emotional intelligence is going to be hard to determine. Right now, they look at emotional intelligence of like how you're feeling about things by the number of mistypes you have on your keyboard and things like that. I mean, you could also be drunk, so they don't know the difference between being drunk or being a bad typer.
Yeah.
So they look at things like your typing habits. They look at, they don't get to see like, what is your movement of your eyes? What's the movement of your face? And things like Meta will actually bring that together, because like your eye movement is a determining factor of like what you're thinking, what part of your brain you're using, your movement, your slouching. By adding all those feature sets together, the emotional intelligence is going to be expansive, and it's going to actually be able to predict things better for you for the future. And it's going to be huge, but all these things route around one issue: is there's not a hub for data. And I think that's what Meta is really trying to hone in on, a hub for all data. And so emotional intelligence, conversational AI is going to improve. All these different factors are going to continuously improve by having one hub of data.
It seems as though Meta is looking, I could be wrong on this, please correct me. It looks as though they're looking to get a monopoly on the data hub. Is this
yes.
Is that what it looks like?
That's what I'm predicting. Now, there's all the things I'm saying, don't take them as, gospel, but these are things I'm predicting. If you've noticed out there, Meta Facebook has not produced much documentation on what they're doing here. So
no, it's a secret.
I am looking at what I think is a possible reality for it. I mean, you can look at games like Ready Player One is a good atmosphere to kind of explain what Meta.
Ready Player One.
Yeah, Ready Player One. If you look that movie up, I think it's on Google. It's on Google. It's on, anywhere you buy movies, really. You can buy YouTube. You can even buy it. But it's a good analogy of what it is, where people are living in, their houses, but they're living actually in this world. It doesn't matter what their house looks like. They're actually living in a world that's all virtual. And that's the only thing that makes sense. And I only say that because to spend $9 billion for a publicly traded company, they've got to think that it is the biggest thing that's ever to come. I mean, because $9 billion and getting your investors to say, okay, that's fine. There's a reason, they don't just bet, they're not like a startup where we just bet on an idea and hope it comes to fruition. They've done a lot of research and a lot of study to get there. Now, another reason that I look at it is why they're trying to be the resource hub. If you watch the commercials from Facebook, you start seeing all these different commercials that they're talking about access to data. Have you seen those commercials where they?
I have not. I haven't seen any of the commercials yet.
Okay, so it's about data privacy,
maybe I can get some of them and post them.
Their lawyers are doing all these different commercials right now talking about data privacy, and the reason they're talking about data privacy is they're trying to get the laws to change so that Meta can happen. So if they get the laws stricter, then they can be more in control of the data hub, making more barrier of entry of anyone that tries to compete with them. Wow. Again, giving them that upper hand to create Meta and to not have any competitors. I mean,
is this Zuckerberg behind all this? Is he the mastermind?
Maybe. I mean, it could be part of his board. And I mean, he's involved. And, again, I'm not saying anything bad against Facebook, because to be honest, if I was in his predicament, I would be doing the same thing. So, it's not me coming against him. It's me saying it's a genius idea, but it's one of those things you got to prepare for, because they're laying the foundation for it to happen. And everything that they're doing is laying that foundation. And it's going to be a thing. It's going to happen. I mean, imagine if you could meet with your girlfriend that's, 1,000 miles away, but you could hang out with her from your computer and never actually fly down to go see her.
I mean, go see my girlfriend on Mars.
Yeah, or you can see her on Mars, or, you can be in a mansion, and you're going to feel like you're there because the whole experience is going to feel like it. I mean, I would guess that they'll eventually create suits and different things, so when they touch you, you feel the touch. I mean, it's going to be like you're living in this world.
Oh, definitely. That's huge. I never thought of that. That's a huge market right there.
Yeah, so there's all these different
$1 billion market right there, Tom.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of different markets in it.
Joe.
Yeah, I think it's going to take 10 plus years to really get there.
I have to apologize.
Well, it's part of my name, Thomas, but okay. But yeah, so it's going to get there. It's going to take time to get there, but it's something to keep your eye on, because when it happens, if you're not following that trend, it could really harm you. I mean, you got to think about what happens when you can order food from McDonald's and a robot makes it for you and a robot delivers it to you. Could that actually happen within a metaverse? Yes. It's going to change everything. I mean, you've seen what delivery's done. Delivery's changed. So what happens now when you want to buy something, you pick it off the shelf, and now it's ordered it for you and it comes to your house. I think that it's going to make you feel like you're at a Walmart store, but you're actually online doing it all.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. That is absolutely amazing. Joe, you've been just a fountain of knowledge, like a wizard on this stuff, more so than anybody that I have personally talked to. And I don't want to be greedy with your time. I'd like to get together again sometime and speak to you, but I want to thank you for sharing, and we will post this video. It will be on YouTube, also on the Dr. Dunn YouTube account, and inside of DIY AI. Dr. Dunn is my brand, and DIY AI is the Dr. Dunn Group organization. But I want to thank you. I truly want to thank you for taking the time to share your knowledge on something that we know absolutely nothing about. And this makes so much sense. You are like you're like the Grandmaster of explaining the metaverse, really.
Oh, thank you. I
You're
just
welcome.
watch technologies and where they're going, and just kind of
Yeah.
come up with my own conclusions.
That's absolutely amazing. With that, I want to wish you a fantastic evening there in Indiana. Did you have any questions for me before we get going tonight, or anything?
No, I think we're good with that.
Awesome. Absolutely incredible. This is very, very strong, very, very powerful, very, very moving. I'm very, very moved by this. Wow, it's giving me a lot to think about. Thank you.
Very welcome.
All right, we'll talk to you later, my friend.